What's going on, guys? My name is Andres Garcia, and today we're gonna go over mistakes that most of all college students make in college. Yeah, roll the intro. Alright, so college years are typically the years that you learn the most and probably make the most mistakes. I say this out of experience, and if I could have seen a video like this before going into college, it would have saved me a whole lot of time, a whole lot of unnecessary bullshit stressing. So hopefully you guys can take the knowledge from this video and apply it to your own lives. Number one is not budgeting. So college is usually like the first time that people experience having some type of financial independency. I mean, you get a glimpse of it in high school, but definitely in college you see it a whole lot more. No one's telling you not to go buy the Cactus Jack 150s or the PS16, whatever. It's your own money and you spend it on what you want. However, a huge tip that I could give you is to just track your spending. Alright, so there's various ways in which you can track your spending. You can write it down on paper, you could use your notes on your phone. However, I found the spending and every dollar apps to be amazing for tracking how much I'm spending opposed to how much I'm making. I'm not going to get into the details as to how to use these apps, as once you download the apps it kind of shows you how to use them, but the general idea is that you track how much income you have and how much money you're spending, whether the category is on groceries or entertainment or whatever. And if you have a job, you could include that into your income or salary. It takes like 5 minutes at the end of your day to like track how much money you've spent that day. And honestly, the main benefit from using this is that you become mindful of what you're spending your money on. I think most people cringe when they think about their finances. They don't want to think about how much they've been spending as opposed to how much they've been making, because they probably know those numbers aren't the best. But if we keep avoiding it, it's not gonna go away. It's still a problem, it's still gonna be there. So face it head on. Learning how to be financially independent and being financially educated is a huge flex, and it'll save you some stress. All right, number two is not setting routines. All right, so routines build habits, and in turn are like the platform for like what our life may look like, because it's what we do every single day. When I first started college, I didn't really have a routine set into place, and that definitely reflected in all aspects of my life. I found myself getting behind in school, getting behind in goals that I had intentions for, all because I didn't take the time to really set out a detailed routine. Now, this routine could be anything that you want that pertains to your goals and what you have in mind. So my day typically starts at 7:30, get nice and caffeinated. I then get ready for the gym, for which I then start writing out my to-do list. After that's done, I like to get some morning meditations in and probably clean up my room a bit and then head off to the gym. Come back and then get ready and then just get started with my day. It's nothing crazy, but it helps me stay in a habitual mindset, meaning that the night before I know that I can't be going to bed at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning because I have to be up early to go to the gym and do that whole thing that I just said. There are a million other reasons why routines are super important, but the main takeaway is that routines build your habits, and ultimately your habits build the person you are. So yeah, kind of a big deal. Numero tres is not having any physical activity. Okay, so if you played sports in high school, you probably used to like going to school for the whole day and then going to practice afterwards, and then, you know, getting in the shower and then feeling just nice and refreshed, right? You probably took it for granted back then, but physical activity is huge. And it's not just about a physical standpoint, but rather more of a mental, because when you feel cooped up all day and you don't do anything to get outside the house and maybe go for a run or lift some weights, then your body and mind gets used to this stationary and sedentary lifestyle. Physical activity is huge for your mental health, and it's something that I highly suggest you do, even if you don't feel like you have the time for it. Odds are you probably do. It can be as little as 20 minutes or up to an hour or however long you want to go. I personally like really going to the gym and going to play some tennis with my friends or whatever. Honestly, like it's up to you. I remember my first semester of freshman year, I was making the excuse that I didn't have time to go work out, or I didn't have time to go for a run because I was busy studying. Okay, now that was complete horse. I most definitely had time, I just wasn't making the time. For some reason, I thought I would be more productive at a desk for about 12 hours a day trying to study. Alright, it wasn't actually 12 hours, but you know what. The point is, I noticed a huge difference and improvement in my grades and just ability to absorb information when I started implementing more physical activities in my routine. It allowed me to hyper-focus when I had to for school, and allowed me to blow off some steam by hitting some weights in the gym or going for a run or whatever. Alright, now number 4 is not meeting new people. Alright, so I know since everything with Rona started, bro, it's not impossible. You can still meet new people while being safe. Whether that's just reaching out to classmates in some of your classes by just emailing them, trying to get their Snapchat, whatever, or try and join like a yoga class and meeting new people there. I mean, of course, well, wearing your mask, but just human interaction is huge for mental health. It's crazy how just a simple conversation with someone could really improve your mental health. Now, I know it's tough to try and go out and meet new people as it's kind of out of our comfort zone. Like, usually I like sticking with people that I know, but once I actually go out and start meeting new people and start forming new relationships, I'm so glad I did it, because you start to see like so many different perspectives, and honestly, it just makes you feel human again. Getting out of your comfort zone is huge, and it's ultimately where we grow the most. So be safe. It doesn't mean that you can't have some fun. Alright, number 5 is underestimating and overestimating classes. Alright, so when I first got into college, I honestly underestimated some of the classes that I was about to take. It's not that I didn't think that the material was going to be a challenge, but it was more underestimating like the work that I needed to put into the class to actually get a good grade and to like understand the material too. However, the same is true for overestimating classes. I remember when I first started Gen Chem 2 and our professor emailed us basically saying that if you did well in Gen Chem 1, probably aren't going to do the best in Gen Chem 2. So naturally, I went into the class already just a little bit scared, which wasn't great from like a confidence standpoint, knowing that, you know, I could learn this material. I ended up doing good in the class. However, if I would have stayed in this mindset of thinking that this class is way beyond my capacity of knowledge, I probably wouldn't have done nearly as good as I would have. I probably would have just failed out and done something else. And this is especially true if you're like in STEM majors. Like if you're taking like any upper division of like math, chemistry, biology, whatever, it's quite typical for like professors in these classes to seem intimidating. But like honestly, like there's a point in time when these professors didn't even know this material, and now they just know it and they're just teaching it. So get the thought out of your head that you can't learn the material because you're not smart enough. I've been there and it doesn't do shit for you. Take the class bit by bit and eventually you'll know your stuff and you'll be on your way. Number 6 is stressing over little. Alright, so obviously college can be pretty stressful, but I would say about 95% of that stress is just stress that you put on yourself. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to neglect things that you have to take care of, such as like emails and other stuff that can be important, that may seem small. But what I'm talking about is thinking that it's the end of the world because you can't understand a certain topic in a certain class. It's not the end of the world. Like there's people who get through these classes without understanding half the shit that they just learned. Now, that doesn't mean that you'll never actually know the material, because, you know, if you're a pre-med major, you probably need to know the information that's in your classes. Or if you're like in a law class or whatever, whether you have to take some kind of standardized test, such as like the MCAT, the DAT, LSAT, whatever. Point is don't be afraid of being uncomfortable in class. That's just part of it. It's understanding that you don't know something right now. However, once we put in the work, we put in the steps to learn it, we're gonna be there. And honestly, that has like no determination on our intelligence. It's just we ran into a part in our class that's tough, that's difficult, and we just gotta put in some time to learn it. Alright, number 7 is not being organized. Organization is like setting the blueprint for a goal that you have in mind. Ways that I like to do this is by setting to-do lists. Be somewhat organized in whichever way that works best for you. For me, I like writing to-do lists on paper. Just bullet points, stuff I gotta do when I gotta do it by. If it's something in the future, I set a reminder. It's simple, and it just helps me know what I have to do and I get it done. However, the flip side of keeping a minimalistic to-do list is by holding full responsibility upon yourself by saying, you know, like, this is on my list and so I'm gonna get it done. If you keep writing stuff on your to-do list that you just keep day by day not getting done, you slowly but surely lose a respect for your to-do list because you feel like it's more optional than a necessity. Treat your to-do list like a necessity and things that need to get done. Once I realized this, it was a complete game changer, as my to-do list became things that I knew I was gonna get done, and it was honestly just a foreshadowing of what I'm gonna get done that day. Alright, number 8 is overeating and eating junk food. Alright, so now that we're in college, we probably don't have our mom to, you know, tell us to not eat a whole bag of Doritos in one sitting, followed up by like a pint of ice cream. I actually did that once, but don't tell my mom. Okay, so just eating junk food just makes you feel like how you should feel, like junk. Eating junk food ultimately leads to a deterioration of your physical health, which in turn affects your mental health and just your overall like approach to life. It's weird because it's like a slight difference of just, eating a salad as opposed to having some chips or like some deep fried stuff. The point is that this is your vehicle for life and we have to take care of it to the best of our ability. Just because we're young doesn't mean that we can just eat whatever, and even if those pounds aren't showing up on the scale or on your physique, it's definitely not doing any good to your mental health as you're not receiving any nutrients or vitamins to actually nourish your brain. My gosh, I sound like my mom right now. Alright, number 9 is not checking your vehicle. So I'm no mechanic, but I know that tons of people, including myself, have had car issues in the past when it came into college. Now for me personally, I didn't get a brand new car when I came into college. My parents helped me out and they allowed me to use one of their old cars. But with an older vehicle comes like issues such as transmission and changing oils, your tires, all that. It's honestly really important to just constantly check up on your car, check the tires, make sure that you're good. One small slip up could be huge and I want you guys to be safe. Number 10 is being afraid of being the worst in the room. So I think sometimes we don't want to get out of our comfort zone because we're afraid of sucking like bad at something that other people are good at. Truth is, no one really gives a shit. Whether you're the worst, best, middle in the room, it doesn't matter. People are always focusing on themselves anyways. Humans are self-centered creatures, at least for the most part. So get over yourself and get out of your comfort zone. If you want to go out and try that new Zumba class, go ahead and do it. If you've always wanted to learn how to play piano or play guitar, don't be afraid of being bad. Like everyone who started was bad. Go ahead and start. If you at least start, you're doing way more than the person who's not even trying. Alright, number 11 is not following a healthy sleep schedule. Alright, so I know it's easy to go to bed later if you want in college because there's no one telling you to go to bed at a certain time period. It's all on you and you do your own thing. However, if you're not getting the full 8 to 7 hours of sleep per night, you're slowly deteriorating your mental health and your ability to just approach the day. A healthy sleep schedule is huge to your productivity and can be huge to your growth as a person. Get your sleep. There's always going to be another party. There's always going to be another event. And by sticking to a consistent sleep schedule, you're demanding more of yourself, and it honestly just comes back to just earning that self-respect for yourself. Earning self-respect for yourself. You get the point. Alright, number 12 is letting test scores determine your intelligence. Alright, so for some reason, people love bragging how well they did on an exam. And if you yourself didn't do too hot on that exam, you may feel pretty stupid. I say this from experience. I remember finishing up some exams and I would get my test results back and everyone would be talking about, how they just earned a 95 and higher and how they're just killing it in the class. I'm just looking down at like my 73 and I'm just thinking, well, I passed, but I didn't feel smart. I didn't feel like I was intelligent. And it wasn't until I let go of that imaginary thing that test scores mean intelligence. Test scores mean knowledge in a certain subject. Granted, it was that motivation of feeling stupid that allowed me to want to work harder to do better in my classes, in which I eventually did start doing better in my classes, and so there is a benefit. However, you take so many exams in your college career that you honestly shouldn't weigh too much of your intelligence and your worth as a person based on a simple test score. You're more than that, and you're more capable than that. If you didn't do your best, try again. Work harder. Let's get it. It doesn't mean you're dumb. It doesn't mean that people are smarter. There's a lot that you're not seeing to this picture. Alright, now number 13 is letting pride and or fear stop you from asking questions. Okay, so I know tons of people who hate asking questions in class even if they don't understand the material because they don't want to seem stupid or they just are too prideful to ask. Chances are people have the same question that you have. So there's a great quote that states, "He who asks a question remains a fool for 5 minutes. He who does not ask remains a fool forever." Don't be afraid to learn and don't be afraid to ask them questions. Alright, number 14 is not learning how to learn. Alright, now this may sound a little bit weird, but it's huge and super important. Alright, so there are tons of ways that people can learn. However, a huge piece of advice that I can give you is learn the best way that you learn. Meaning that, is that in watching videos? Is that in taking notes? Is that in writing note cards? what's the best way that you could learn material fast and effectively? I used to think that taking excessive notes was the best way for me to learn, until I realized that I actually learn the most when I have a big picture and a big concept as to what the material pertains to. And I either do that by watching a video or by reading like an abstract. Once I understand the overall concept, I'm able to fill out the other parts of the material. And all of this is followed up by making a concept map that goes over the entire material in brief bullets from which I can then look at and just remember what I read and or saw. Alright, now number 15 is not listening to your gut. I think so many times society tries and place these clamps on people and tries putting them into separate categories. But if you feel like that's not what you want to do, if you don't want to become a lawyer, if you don't want to be a doctor, then don't. Something that I've learned is that I've always been significantly happier when I've trusted my gut feeling. That's when I grow the most, and that's when I find that I'm the happiest. So do you, and be completely confident in what you're doing, and 100% odds are you're right. Thank you guys for watching my video. If you guys could please hit that like button if you found some value in this video, and if you can please subscribe. Love you guys. Peace. Alright, so when I first got into college, I was